Fellas, do you believe in blimp supremacy? Have you ever wanted to attack your enemies using flaming bags of feces? Or experience the Hindenburg disaster of 1937, this time as a gameplay mechanic? If you answered yes to any of those questions, congratulations, because today we're looking at the ZRS-6 Dirigible. The dirigible is, at its core, a very large balloon filled with bad ideas and flammable optimism. It drifts on to the battlefield with the confidence of something that absolutely should not still exist in a modern military doctrine. It does not move quickly, it does not move quietly, and it certainly does not move safely. Instead, it hovers overhead like a floating mistake, daring gravity, fire, and common sense to finally intervene. The fact that the Empire looked at this thing and said, "Yes, deploy the blimp," tells me everything I need to know about their long-term planning. And somehow its attacks are just as disappointing as the concept itself. This thing drops explosives, which sounds cool on paper until you realize that they have all the destructive power of a strongly worded suggestion. Watching the dirigible bomb enemies feels less like aerial warfare and more like aggressively littering from above. You're not striking fear into the enemy, you're inconveniencing them from a blimp. The dirigible is a unique unit in that you don't acquire it through normal recruitment. It can only be obtained as a boss strike reward once you and your guild reach the required tier. In this case, that meant hitting tier 3 during boss strike 1 Uzel the Raptor Trainer, after sufficiently beating him and his deeply questionable Critter Raider hybrid army into submission. Looking at the dirigible, it's classified as a lighter than air unit, with potential to deal decent damage to ground targets. Emphasis on potential. Looking at the stats, at rank 1, it comes with 120 health, 20 bravery, 10 defense, and 0 dodge. Unlike most units, boss strike reward units can be promoted all the way to rank 9. So let's take a look at the rank 9 stats. It comes with 350 health, 55 bravery, 55 defense, and 45 dodge. It's also worth noting that the dirigible takes 50% extra damage from all fire type attacks. With that in mind, it becomes pretty clear that this thing is a soft target, one that really needs to stay out of the way of enemy fire. And because of that, the dirigible's entire game plan revolves around doing its damage from a safe distance, which brings us to its first attack. The dirigible's first attack is exactly what you would expect. It drops a bomb on a single ground unit from above. It's an indirect explosive attack with a range of 5, meaning the dirigible can stay well away from the front line while still contributing. That part is genuinely nice, especially for something this fragile. Each bomb deals decent upfront damage and applies a fire damage over time effect for 3 turns. It also comes with a very high crit chance against soldier units, making it noticeably more effective when used to harass infantry formations. At higher ranks, the damage does scale reasonably well, and the DOT becomes a real source of value. That said, it's still very much a support style attack. The dirigible's second attack trades precision for ambition. Instead of targeting a single unit, this attack drops 3 explosives in a semi-random pattern over a large area. It still has a generous range of 5 and indirect line of fire. This attack is random, meaning you don't get full control over exactly where each bomb lands. On paper, this attack sounds good. Area damage, fire DOT, and long range. But in practice, it's messy. The damage per hit is noticeably lower, and because the explosives are spread semi-randomly, you will often see bombs land near your intended target rather than directly on them. It does still apply the same fire DOT, and it gets solid crit bonuses against soldiers and vehicles. This attack does have a role. It's genuinely useful for softening up a full board of enemies, spreading damage and DOT across multiple targets. So now, with both attacks covered, let's do what we always do, and take the dirigible into a few quick fights to see how this floating liability actually performs when the numbers stop being theoretical. To start off combat testing, I send my 3 dirigibles to the Boar Badlands. where they encounter a wild herd of boars. Unfortunately for the boars, they still haven't evolved anti-aircraft technology. As a result, the battle quickly devolves into a scientific inquiry centered around one question: how fast can napalm-packed explosives remove an entire species from my immediate field of view? The answer, it turns out, is not quickly. Despite the boars having absolutely no way to fight back, it still takes over 9 attacks to fully clear the field, turning what should have been a swift bombing run into a prolonged lesson in patience. By the end of it, the boars are gone, but so is any illusion that this unit does its job with a sense of urgency. After that battle, I got curious whether the rebels had any way to respond to sustained air raids. The answer? Kind of. I found a rebel formation made up mostly of infantry, supported by a single artillery piece. At first, they had absolutely no answer to the blimps. The bombing runs went completely uncontested, and things were looking grim for anyone still believing in ground-based solutions. Then, after I wiped out their armadillo troops, grenadiers emerged from hiding and started lobbing fragmentation and thermite grenades straight into the sky. To be clear, this was not effective at stopping the dirigibles, but it did result in me bombing them even harder. Realizing that my enemies had absolutely no real answer to blimp supremacy, I immediately flew over to Saren's base and started bombing the hell out of it. It took no more than 3 cluster bombs for Saren to completely capitulate. And for my efforts, I was rewarded with 20 coal. Now that we're done with that, what do I actually think of the dirigible? Honestly, I think it's a solid tier 3 ball strike reward. It's going to be practically useless at higher levels, but for low level players, this thing can seriously expand your arsenal. And more importantly, it's just fun to watch as it casually blows up large sections of the battlefield. I do think Madrona could probably balance the higher tiers a bit by giving it some extra damage, but at the same time, I wouldn't lose any sleep if they didn't. And that's all for the dirigible today. I know this video isn't in my usual full review style, but since I can't get this unit to max rank, I wanted to try out this first look format instead. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm already working on the next 2 units. And with that, as always, thank you for watching.